can always tell when a streak's going to come to an end. You win a couple of games, you probably shouldn't.
There are teams out there that could use that quality of playoff goaltending. All right, Ray, you ready to do this?
Yep, let's go.
Powered by Red Media in partnership with TSN, it is season 7 of the Ray and Dregs Hockey Podcast, presented by our title sponsor, Tim Hortons. The Tim's NHL Hockey Challenge is back in the Tim Hortons app. You have a chance to win daily and monthly prizes for picking players who you think are going to score. Plus, there's a chance to win a new Hyundai Tucson as part of our grand prize at the end of the year. Hey, Canadians, you can also try to keep a 7-day streak alive, win a free coffee, win a free tea for a week. Check it all out, timhortons.ca, for a full list of prizes. There you are, Ray, for those enjoying on the YouTube channel, the Ray and Dregs Hockey Podcast. Where are you? You told us on Tuesday, but I don't recall. Where are you today? Dallas?
Very good, Dregs. You just pulled it back. Yes, I am.
I did.
I'm in Dallas. I have forgotten my tripod to prop up my phone to do this. I kind of a shaky bit of packing, I've got to say, and not
what
just
is it,
because
against
of that.
the ice bucket, or how's it being propped up at the moment?
Propped up on a corner on the flat wall under the TV on top of the ice bucket, and I've got my ice bucket little in case you decided to pick up an ice cube. I don't know. I've never used this thing, but it's right here. So I'm like, oh, kind of fun to play with.
Yes, it is. It's a crutch. That's what it is. It's like me in studio. I don't know if you're the same in studio. You always have a pen in your hand. You're not writing anything down while you're actually talking, doing the intermission, but it's just, it feels good. It's safety. That's what it is.
It is also, I was taught that if you're public speaking, or as I guess we are on TV and you're on camera and you're holding something, it also relaxes all of your, this is crazy, but try it. It relaxes it takes the tension out of your upper body, so you don't sit like you're lifting weights. And so Bill Clement actually was the first guy that I saw do that. Billy, we had him on the podcast one time. What an unbelievable guy. And he used to have a paper clip in his hand all the time. 25 years had a paper clip. So he had a box of paper clips in his bag that he took around. He never used them for paper. He just, in case he lost one, he had another, like there had to be a cheaper way than having 200 paper clips, but that was Bill's way.
You seem like a squeeze ball kind of guy, like a tension ball sort of.
At home, yep. Used to have one. The kids one Christmas got me one for driving. I wonder why. And that was really what I took it though, Dregs, is maybe I should probably try to relax a little bit more. The kids are giving me a tension ball.
Stress ball. All right. Well, hey, I mean, again, as we talked about on Tuesday, there's always stories going around the National Hockey League. And one of the items I'm going to hit in the Canadian Brew House headlines is the NHL GM meetings start the beginning of next week. So I want you to give that some thought. So we're probably 15 minutes away from that on, we always do this, right? If you could change one thing about the game, that's too broad. Your research is top notch because you're there front and center basically every single game. So if there's something subtle or not so subtle that you've recognized over the course of this year or in recent years that you feel needs more attention, that's what I'm looking for. So that's on the clock now. All right. Headlines brought to you by the Canadian Brew House. Hey, get lucky at the Canadian Brew House this week, March 13th to 17th. You can enter a trip for two. You can win that trip for two to Ireland and celebrate with green beer, Guinness, of course, Jameson. Don't miss the party at the Canadian Brew House. That's going through the weekend, and what a party it'll be with St. Patrick's Day. Quiet Wednesday, Ray, in the National Hockey League, just a couple of games. Montreal in Ottawa, and it's felt like this for a while, that the Ottawa Senators are in that cliche must-win mode, and they would have approached that game against the Habs on home ice last night that way. Ivan Demidov scored the go-ahead goal in the third. Jacob Fowler was really good for the Montreal Canadiens. He hasn't been up for a while. He made 32 saves. Linus Ullmark, though, leaves us questioning Sen's goaltending again. I don't know that he was bad. It was a 3-2 game. It was a tight game. It was a playoff type of game, right? But in a playoff type of game, it's tough to give up the wraparound, which tied the game, right? 2-2. And then even the go-ahead goal was a bit weird. You had the new hook
Right.
shot, and then Demidov is there, and Linus Ullmark doesn't seem to know where the rebound is. It's right in front of him, and Demidov puts it away. Is it unfair to scrutinize Ullmark on it in a game like that? Or, I mean, it's not like he was under siege in that game. Ottawa played a pretty decent defensive game.
I don't like when the goalie gets all the scrutiny for, like, say, Ottawa's playoff positioning based on one game.
Right.
That to me is
Yeah.
not fair. This is
Okay.
a season-long problem in Ottawa. They brought in Linus Ullmark to win games like this, to give them, I'll say, at least league average goaltending. That I think that would be fair. I mean, they're not
Yeah.
asking them to
Yeah.
lead the league in save percentage. If the Senators had league average goaltending instead of the worst, they would be so comfortably in a playoff spot
Mhm.
that they wouldn't have to fret like they do over every game. This goes back to October when their goaltending was no good.
Mhm.
And Ullmark, of course, is at the front end of it because he's their starter and he's the guy they went out and paid in a free agent deal to bring him to Ottawa. And it felt like that this really could be a solidifying point. I felt when they signed him, he would be a difference maker as far as making it or not making it. Turns out he might be, and they're not
Yeah.
going to make it because their goaltending's been so bad. It must be like after a while, the players can't ignore it. If the goaltending again is average, and I've got to be clear here, I'm not talking about Vezina Trophy goaltending, just
Mhm.
league average, 890 save percentage. 890 save percentage, which is average this year, they
Yeah.
would be in. They don't have it. So, and they're doing this right now without Jake Sanderson, which is
It's
just
tough.
a huge, huge blow. He's a terrific player.
Yeah. We kind of touched on just the divisions on Tuesday, and you mentioned that it was the Atlantic Division that has most of your attention.
Yeah.
Just because of the possibilities and everything that's going on there will go on until the end of the regular season. The Pacific Division is bizarre too, and there's opportunity for change there in a big way. The San Jose Sharks, Ray, are 1 point back of the wild card line. Now they've got 2 games in hand on the Los Angeles Kings and one in hand on Seattle. 19-year-old Macklin Celebrini recorded his 90th point on Tuesday. So he's just a great all-around story.
Yeah.
However, Ryan Rosofsky's looking beyond the kids. Smith, Celebrini, go down the list there. And he's like literally begging his forwards, play to the inside, go to the net, get pucks to the net. And it sounds like that's not the first time he's delivered that message, right? Like there's a coach
Right.
that's growing weary of having to repeat himself over and over and over again. If they're able to do that, are they a playoff team? I mean, they're right there, and they'd be fun to watch in the playoffs.
They're a really fun team to play. Like the young teams are fun because they don't have a lot of scar tissue. They play a little recklessly. They give up a bunch of goals, but they score one goal more a lot. Like
Yeah,
Anaheim's like that a little bit. The two differences between Anaheim and San Jose in the status of their rebuild, and that would be that Anaheim's got a goalie they count on, and that's Lucas Dostel. And
yeah,
Askarov in San Jose, he's a little bit behind. He's a young guy, really athletic. He can give up some goals that have an odor to them. That's the development of a young guy, and Dostel just happens to be ahead by a couple of years, maybe in age and experience of Askarov. Second thing, Anaheim's defense is way better. It's
yeah,
miles better than San Jose's. And certainly Anaheim got better with John Carlson. San Jose is a work in progress back there. So I think they're the most unpredictable team on the bubble, San Jose.
yeah.
They could win 4 or 5 in a row, and that might be enough
Yes.
to get you in. But they might lose it here. Like they might lose the plot a little bit too.
Yeah.
Celebrini has to be in the MVP conversation.
Oh, for
I don't
sure.
think
Yeah.
there's any there's any debate about that.
Yeah.
It feels like the playoffs are a step ahead of San Jose right now. Doesn't mean they won't make it, but it just kind of feels like that. Let me just we went across the Atlantic real quickly.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
like so in the last 2 days, Montreal calls up a goalie from the minors, right? Jacob Fowler, who's kind of their goalie
Yeah.
of the future, they believe of. They step over top a start for Sam Montembeault, who was on the Four Nations team last year. He's, in essence, their third guy right now. I think that's a
Yeah.
big story.
Crazy.
The night before, Detroit's got a 2-1 lead in the last minute in Florida, and they give up 2 goals. They lose 3-2, but they don't even get a point.
Oof.
And that's a kick right in the,
Yeah.
and it's, these are points that clearly, I mean, they could be at any time in the year, but now they feel like just enormous. And
Mhm.
they're playing without Dylan Larkin, and Andrew Kopp got hurt. And so that's 2 of their centermen. And all of a sudden it feels like, geez, could Detroit miss?
Yeah.
Could they backstep? And they could.
They could. There's enough
Depending on
time.
right, and depending on how long Larkin's out and what's the deal with Kopp. I didn't hear anything this morning. They called up 3 forwards from the
Mhm.
American League team. Like they're patching it together right now.
Yeah. Take us back to Tuesday as well. And that Oilers Avalanche game,
Great
4-3
game.
Edmonton wins. Entertaining game. But,
Yeah.
the takeaway is we're focused on the one play. And that one play in particular is Nathan MacKinnon running through Connor Ingram, right? Now, the refs called it a major penalty and then reviewed it, which is what they're allowed to do. And it's one of the tweaks with video review that I appreciate. I get it
I
right,
agree.
right? So
Yep,
they have
I
a
agree.
look and they uphold the 5-minute major, the game misconduct. Post game, Jared Bednar, the coach of the Colorado Avalanche. I mean, what's he gonna say? He's gonna defend his player, his superstar, but he called out Darnell Nurse on steering Nate MacKinnon into Ingram, and said that his toes were pointed up the ice. He was going to cut back. He didn't even think it was a penalty. So I mean, was it the right call? The major, was that too aggressive? Did you see what Jared Bednar sees? Just describe, your thoughts on that play.
I thought the call was awful. I thought it was a terrible call. I I don't know. I'm sitting on my couch and I watched the replay. I don't know, as many times as they showed it, 5, 6,
Right.
7 times.
Yeah.
How could anybody look at the play and not think that Nurse altered the course of where McKinnon was going?
Mm.
Like he hits him in the hip with his head and shoulder. But it's not Nurse's fault either. He's just trying to defend the play. Sometimes when guys are going 15 to 20 miles an hour, goofy things happen. Even the local broadcast couldn't say that it was a major because it's
Mm.
not. What bothered me most about the play was that they went to the review and seemed to ignore the contact. It should be a penalty. If you drive through the blue paint, I think it's a penalty.
Okay.
It's uh, if you make contact inside the paint, whether you're trying to avoid the goalie or not, the goalie's got to be safe in that paint.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a penalty. It's not a 5. You could show me that play 100 different angles, and I think we saw about 5 or 6. I mean, they had as many angles as the cameras would allow,
Mm-hmm.
and at no point am I thinking that's a major penalty. I just as for what Bednar said, it so he says I don't care if their goalie's hurt or not. I think what I'm not trying to fix his words because clearly he's pissed off at that time, but it's almost like a high stick.
Mm-hmm.
I go to whack a puck out of the air and I smack you across the face, and you're not cut, or I go to lift your stick and I miss it and I hit you on the end of the nose or the little nick on the guy's lip, and that's a 4-minute major.
Right.
Like there are times where the rules just don't quite make sense. That would be one of them. I don't this was not a 5-minute major to me. And
Okay.
they don't have the major and stay in the game option either. It's if there was a major stay in the game option, I think you could probably stomach that somehow if you're Colorado.
Yeah.
But the game misconduct is I don't. I thought it was a terrible call. They got the video in front of them. I don't know what they could have been looking at.
Yeah, and look, I mean, this one incident, we're not debating goalie interference. As you said, it's a penalty. You know,
No.
the issue for you is between the minor penalty, the 2 minutes, and the 5-minute major, and the game misconduct that goes along with it. But, you know, and I will get your thoughts in a minute here on what we teed up earlier in terms of if there's something in the game that you'd like a little bit more attention to. But have we given up on the complexity of goaltender interference, with the acceptance that, okay, well, the goalie that gives up a goal because he feels like he was interfered with is never going to be happy. And he's going to talk about it post game. And likewise, for the coach who calls it or thinks there was goalie interference and it doesn't go his way. I mean, or are you still as confused as many seem to be? And is that an area that the league finally, after years of trying, has got to make it so cut and dried that it's much easier to detect or determine?
Well, I thought you were going to ask. Is this the time you're asking me about my
No,
one?
no,
Okay, well
no.
then I'm not going to, because there is no bigger quagmire than goaltender interference. I've been told by a couple of guys that are on the officiating side that they feel they've stepped backwards with goalie interference, that it's more confusing now than it was just
And
even a
those are
couple of years ago.
officials on the
Some are
officiating side.
on the
Yeah,
officiating side,
yeah.
and so I I I do not buy that the league can bring in 32 videos and 31 of them, everyone agreed in the room that it was goalie interference. I mean, which ones are they bringing in? The one from McKinnon the other night? Like, there is so many times that, and I'm doing the game, I'm there, I have the video in front of me, and I think I know what it's going to be. And that would be not because I'm smarter than anybody else, but because of just thousands of examples of literally over the course of the goalie interference era, I'll call it, that we've seen. And I've got
Yeah.
all these reps, and I'm I'm right more than I'm wrong on whether it is or isn't, but not by as much as I should be. Like,
Hmm.
it's there's just too many. You're like, oh well, the goalie's in the blue, but his hands are outside the blue, and
Yeah,
the guy runs it like it's almost an impossibility to get it cut and dried. I will say that.
right.
I don't know how, unless everybody becomes stationary, which is never going to happen,
No.
right? Everybody's moving into play. It's
Yeah.
hard, but what they've got now needs to be revisited because, in my opinion, it's far too confusing. But the one the
Okay.
other night, Dregs, was not.
Yeah. No. All right. Now, anything subtle that you see pop up occasionally, or maybe it's game after game, that you do think the managers need to look at and discuss and potentially tweak or change next week?
Well, they did change, I believe, for next year the puck over the glass review.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? And so
Hmm.
that's a good change. I mean, and because I bet you we only see it reviewed 20 times next year out of 1,400 games or whatever they've got. I don't think it's going to be as big a deal as we think. The goalie interference to me, far and away, is number one. Number two is I cannot get behind the offside review when the puck is in the zone for 45 seconds. The
Hmm.
goal scored, the horn goes off, and then they go back to the entry point and they say, "Oh yeah, they're challenging for," and you can see the coaches, they already know it's a millimeter offside, and they're like, "Yeah," you can tell they're like, "Yeah, we're going to challenge."
Yeah.
Like they already know. So because their video team reviews every entry as it happens.
Yeah.
I'd like to see a time limit on where that entry is no longer valid. And if it's I don't even care. You can make up the time. You can say 20 seconds. You can say 10 seconds.
Mhm.
If it's 10 seconds, for example, it might not sound like much. On the ice in a game, 10 seconds is 3 days.
Mm.
Everybody has time to get into position to defend. Or it could even be, does the defensive team touch the puck? Not a deflection, but do they have the puck on their stick?
Mhm.
I think there is a way to approach that because I think it's one of the biggest buzzkills in the game.
It'll definitely get talked about, and it does. But I think, maybe similarly to goalie interference, um, it's easily brushed off. I'm not saying they don't talk about it. They do talk about it. And to your point, they do look at the video examples, and they've got the breakout groups at these March meetings and all of that. I'm always reminded of the unintended consequence. And I guess it goes all the way back to Matt Duchene being 15 feet offside. I mean,
Sure.
I guess, but that was egregious. A millimeter, 2 millimeters is not egregious. So it's gotten to that point.
Okay. So what would the unintended consequence be of the linesman miss an offside? And we're talking about these bang bang plays because they do not miss
No,
egregious offsides. They really don't.
no, they don't.
It's amazing how they get them right and how often they do with all the complicating factors, but they get them right. So what's the unintended consequence of a 5 or 10-second grace period, and then after that, it doesn't matter? We've
Right.
got clocks.
Yeah.
Like the clocks would measure the entry and measure the goal point. To me, it seems there is as little gray area in that as you could have in almost any rule. And I think it would be better for the game. Dregs, I'll give you another example.
Yeah.
What happens, because we had it once back in 1999, but what happens if in overtime of Game 7, somebody scores an offside goal, but it's one of those, inch here, inch there plays.
Yeah.
They're in the zone for X number of seconds. They score. It's at home. It's at the home team scores. The place erupts. The doors are open. The people are flying on the ice, and the referee's got to go and say, "We have a review."
Yeah, that's never good.
That's the unintended circumstance.
You're right. And they think about those things. There's no doubt about that. All right. Those are your headlines. Thank you to the Canadian Brew House.
It feels like Tim Hortons has always been part of my routine, certainly as a dad, as a coach, or taking my kids to the early morning hockeys. Had to go through the drive-thru and get my cup of coffee and get Timbits for the kids. Can I get a medium coffee with milk, please? Then even driving into studio now at TSN, if I don't go through the drive-thru, get my medium coffee with milk, I feel like my routine has been interrupted.
Here's your coffee.
Thank you.
Right there, guys.
You too. Only way to start a day.
And it's time for Ask Ray and Dregs Anything. Treat for you, Ray. We're going to bring in Ryan Rishog. We always ask our followers and those who watch us on YouTube to send us their questions, DM us on X, or visit rayanddregs.com to submit the questions. Ryan is going to, as he always does, but he's going to take control of this episode of Ray and Dregs right to the end because I have an appointment I've got to get to. So.
Well, hang on. You said there was a treat. What would that be?
Well, that's it.
Oh, you're about to find out. This is
like another pair. This is another pair of slippers from my grandma for Christmas.
No, this is a preview of the Ray and Ryan hockey podcast, which I like the sounds of. There's alliteration there. I think it sounds good. Dregs, before you bolt, there is one that came in. Just got to bounce it off you. This came in from Deranged Oilers fan on Twitter. Okay. Says, "Hey, Ray and Dregs, love the pod. Just want to reach out to tell you guys, my claim to fame is how my parents used to play Dregs softball team in the late 90s and early 2000s in the Red Deer area. My dad always said Dregs could turn even the worst pitch into a dinger. Is this ringing a bell for you, Dregs? Was it big on the softball scene back then?
Sadly, it's fake news. I was born in Red Deer and lived in Red Deer for about 4 months before the family moved to Saskatchewan. So probably a Dreger family in the Red Deer area, but wasn't me. However, the part that is true is,
I'm sure it is. Yeah.
Oh yeah. When it came to slow pitch and things like that, I could hit the ball. I could hit it.
Yeah.
Deep.
Look at that look on his face.
He's so smug right now. This is
all right, beat it. You're done for the day. Get out of here, Dregs.
All
right, boys. Have a good one. Thank you.
All right, there he goes. And good riddance. That grin on his face. He loves patting
he was so happy. He was so happy to talk. Oh, it's so real.
All right, moving on here, Ray. This comes to us from Chris Conacher. He says, hey, guys, I love the show. I often hear that we should not judge good defensemen on bad teams. What about good goalies on bad teams? Can you talk about how defensive structure affects goalies and their numbers? Do the goalies on bad teams deserve a break, Ray? What do you think?
Well, yes, they deserve a break. They got, in a lot of cases, honestly, they have no chance because the shots that they face, the volume of shots, where they come from, really give them very little chance for season-long success. There's been, over the course of the game, there's been many great goalies that just get buried with the teams they played on. There was one of my favorite guys growing up in the 70s and 80s was a guy named Gilles Meloche. He was a fabulous goalie, unreal. Played for the California Golden Seals. He had no chance. Everywhere he went, the team he went to stunk, and he had no chance. And he was one of the game's better goalies. And it wasn't like today where they could escape after so many years and be a free agent. There was none back then. So if you think of bad teams, the defensemen, the defenders, all of them, forwards, D, they're generally not. They're not as good as they would be on a really good team. So the shots that come are 20 feet in front of the net. There's a save and a rebound and nobody to clear it. They break down on a rush. The goalies are constantly on their heels, and it's got to be a tough way to play goal because it's, the snow, like the Avalanche is coming at you all night.
Yeah. And I guess maybe, when you see teams that are below average defensively where goaltending is a bright spot, that might be that's impressive, right? To have decent numbers and be a bright spot on a bad team as a goalie. I think it's rare, but that might be where there's some real diamonds in the rough.
There is, because in a lot of cases, this year, but look at Binnington, right? His numbers in St. Louis are no good, and he goes to the Olympics and he was terrific. A little bit better team in front of him, a little bit more structure, even though they play against the best that the game has to offer. But that would be a really good example, I think.
Okay, moving on. Ian Burns says, hey, fellas, I feel like I'm shooting fish in a barrel with this one, but what are the chances that both Treliving and Berube are back next year? And also, what players do you think the Leafs should target via trade in the off season? Maybe we can focus a little bit more on overall need, Ray, and what type of player you think maybe they could look at in the off season. But this will be a conversation around Toronto. Anytime a Leafs team that's viewed to be in a window misses the playoffs, everything's going to come into question. So is it possible for them to re-rack it with management and coaches?
It feels like not, that both would be back, but I guess I would say this: if upper management, which is Keith Pelly now, if he decides that Brad Treliving should not be the general manager, if that's his decision, wouldn't you want the coach and the GM to be on the same page? If Treliving has the reins, does he bring Berube back? I mean, there is so many variables. I mean, I gave you a couple there, but there are variables to it to decide what's going to, and we don't know because that'll be decided pretty quick. Like that's not going to linger off
Yeah.
through the off season. As far as the what players to target, I think Toronto made one of the critical mistakes a team can make. They chose to, when they lost Marner, of course, that's a big hole, right? But when they decided to retool their team to beat Florida, that was a critical mistake. And the reason it is because they're not going to play Florida. As it turns out, they're not going to play them. It doesn't matter. The Leafs are not skilled enough. They're not fast enough. And who would have thought that a couple of years ago? Yeah. So if I'm looking for speed, competitiveness, and then skill, because I don't think they compete generally on a level that they need to.
And could they have made it all work and made it fit with everybody? But you look at the departures, Hyman a number of years ago, Marner, like these are pretty critical key people that they've made, somewhat of a choice to move in a different direction from.
Well, I smile when you say Hyman. I mean, that was a mistake from the drop. It's not like looking back and with hindsight, that was a mistake. You're talking again about, look how Hyman plays with McDavid. He did the same thing with Matthews. He's the perfect type of player to play with high level skilled players. He has no ego. He does most of the dirty work and he can score. He wanted a no trade. They didn't want to give him one. And then they lost him. And they've never even come close to replacing him.
Yeah. And he's been a godsend for the Oilers, and McDavid had been riding shotgun next to Connor McDavid through a couple of deep playoff runs and continues to play at a high level. Could have made the Olympic team this year, maybe if he had a little bit more runway. Okay, we'll wrap it up with this one, buddy. Hi, Ray and Darren. As somebody who commutes every weekend on the Coquihalla Highway, Okanagan Connector, or the Crow's Nest Highway, any highway through hell, fans know those roads. From Vancouver to Summerlin, BC, I just want to say your podcast carries me through blizzards, blinding fog, etc. I never miss a show and save them for my drives. Last week after the gold medal game, I thought, do I want to listen to the pod about the game? I'm glad I did. You both nailed my thoughts perfectly. As a hockey fan, I found myself relaxed and enjoying the game on both sides of the ice. It was pure excellence. And in the end, no matter how they won, the USA has the gold medal, and I'm proud for the Canadiens and their silver medal. Love the pod. Thanks for helping me get home every Friday night with a smile. That is coming to us from Dean Goodine in Summerlin. So I just thought a real nice note from Dean. I have driven that highway so many times, Ray. When I was living in Kamloops, I went to school at BCIT. And so I would commute back and forth through the winters across that highway.
You just took, I should have let you finish, but you've been through the winter there, right?
Oh, yeah, man.
Oh, but man, that highway can be.
And in an old Hyundai Sonata, right, 1989, like some of those inclines and declines where your tires are just, if they haven't gotten a chance to, man, that can be a sketchy piece of driving.
Yeah, that's I'm glad we help with the drive and stay safe on that. In the summer, it's the Indy 500, and in the winter, it is treacherous.
Well, they do a show around it. All right, that was Ask Ray and Dregs. Anything. Thanks for all the great contributions. You can hit us up, send us a DM on Twitter. You can check out our website. You can submit all your questions there. We try and get her done once a week. With that, time to welcome in Zuby for my favorite section of the show, where we go over our report cards on how we did on the Tim Hortons Challenge. I often have to sit silently back and listen to you guys abuse me because it hasn't been a great year for me. And again, Zuby, not a great week for me.
No, but typical. I mean, you've got to be used to it at this point, I guess, that the donut. Speaking of Tim Hortons, you get the donut of the week. Dregs got one, but we didn't make up any ground on Dregs. Dregs went 1 for 3 this week. He's up to 35. Ray went 1 for 3. He's at 30. That's still within reach, Ray. I'm pulling for you to at least make it close. I want this to get tight down the stretch.
My biggest concern is I think the listeners are going to start wondering if this segment is taped, because every week it's Ryan is 0 for 3 and I mean, this is Ryan. This is really something.
It's bad. It's bad. I know. I don't really have much of an explanation for it. I mean, I cover the league. I just think it's a luck thing. I don't think it has anything to do with overall hockey knowledge, Ray. I think it's just luck.
So
I'm going with that.
That I was going to say, like, would you not think maybe try a different format, like different ways of
close my
thinking
eyes
about? Yes, maybe that. Why not?
Yeah,
Get the
probably
dog
have more luck.
Get the dog to pick it with a basketball and waste paper baskets.
Well, in my house, so my wife Randine does it every day. My stepdaughter Avery plays it every day, and they're crushing me. So this is the thing. I don't want Dregs to win. Okay. I don't want Dregs to win. I don't want him to have those bragging rights. He'll abuse us with it all summer, all next year. I would be willing to, I don't know, like I can get Randine and Avery to pick, and I can get them to send you the picks, Ray, and I can make the picks for like Avery. I think between the two of them, they have a chance of catching Dregs, and I think we crank you up, Ray.
I think there's a potential here for a scandal to erupt in the selections here, because I think we're all in. I think we're all in concert here. We do not want Dregs to win. It's just the smart assery that would come out of this. It never ends. You thanks to everybody that listens, but you have no idea if Ryan does. I shouldn't say just Dregs, but if Ryan does something that's not quite up to standard, look out.
Our chat is a mess. Our chat is an HR nightmare. Honestly, the complaints I could file against this guy.
Did you see the look on Dregs' face when he was misidentified as a guy who hit home runs? Like, think about if he actually has completed a task that
I know
that he's worthy of the praise for.
I know. Well, nothing is more important than the integrity of the Tim's Hockey Challenge. So we won't mess around.
I will come back. I will come back.
I believe in us.
I'm gonna dig it. I don't believe in you, Ryan, but I will dig hard.
All right, sounds good. Look, that's gonna wrap the show. Zuby, thank you kindly, and Ray, have a great finish to your week, buddy. What are you looking forward to from now until we talk again on Monday or Tuesday? What's got Ray excited? What are you looking forward to?
Actually, I'm looking forward to tonight. Edmonton at Dallas. I love when the best teams play each other, and Edmonton feels like they're starting a little bit of a run here. So we'll see if they can push forward against one of the league's best.
Yes, they're dialing in their defensive play for sure. The Dallas Stars are a little beat up right now, so an opportunity for Edmonton to put some wins together against a devastatingly good top of the Central. Ray, enjoy the rest of the week, buddy. We'll talk soon.
Thanks. Ryan, have a great weekend. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Talk to you next week.
And thanks to our sponsors, as always, Tim Hortons, and, of course, the Canadian Brew House. This has been the Ray and Dregs Hockey Podcast. We'll chat early next week. Have a great weekend, everybody. See you soon.